Hi, everyone. This is Dee, your favorite self-love and mindset coach, and welcome to another episode of Eternal Evolution of Self. I have another amazing guest with me today. This is Becca. She is involved in the whitewater community, which I will let her explain to you here in just a moment. She is a coach that helps people bring play back into their lives, which I feel is like super important, especially these days with all the crazy stuff going on in our world. So we're going to talk about a lot of amazing things today, and I'm going to let Becca introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about the whitewater community. Becca, it was so nice to have you here today.
Thanks. It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
You're very welcome.
Um, yeah, I guess you said to introduce myself a little bit. So I'm Becca. I I'm a whitewater kayak instructor and a health and life coach who helps people to reconnect with their inner child and get back into play. And we work on boundaries and work on goal setting and reorganizing our lives so that we have time for ourselves instead of just doing all the mundane but not like sad things, but mundane things, and creating a life that is not mundane anymore, and like finding the joys in the small things so that you have stuff to be excited about every day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Stuff to be excited about. I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
tell
it
us
can
how
be like
you,
little things too.
yeah, what kind of little things?
Um, like for example, when I wake up in the morning, I the first thing I do is turn on music, and I'll be like dancing around while I'm brushing my teeth and stuff. But if I didn't intentionally do that, then I would just be like, wake up, walk over to the bathroom, brush my teeth, make breakfast. And it could be just like, oh, I have to get on with my day. But instead, it's like, I have a dance party every morning.
Awesome. I might have to try that. So just kind of
Yeah, it's
giving
fun.
a break in the program, because I think, I've heard some scientists that I love to follow talk about that we just run on a program. It's autopilot. We get out of bed and we do, like you said, the same thing, the same routine every morning. And so to break that routine up and add some fun into it, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
So what kind of play do
And
you
then
encourage people to bring back into their lives, and what does that look like?
so I start by just like asking them what they already do that's fun for them. And we can start by just bringing that back into their life. So that could be some hobby that they had when they were a kid, or it could be as simple as just dancing, or like singing along to music in the car. um, But then I also mentioned that I'm a whitewater kayak instructor, so I definitely push some of the outdoor activities. And I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and there's a lot of outdoor activities here.
Mm.
So a lot of common things are mountain biking, rock climbing, and whitewater kayaking or rafting. So I'm very involved in the whitewater community, and I teach lessons for that and have group days and teach classes. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's an absolutely beautiful area. So if y'all are looking for somewhere to go and something to do, I can personally attest to the fact that you're going to have an absolute blast if you go there and partake in some of these amazing events. So what would people need to know about going on a kayaking tour on whitewater? I mean, because a lot of people are going to be super scared of that. So what would they need to know about that?
Yeah, I mean, some base things that you should probably know how to do or like feel relatively comfortable with before are you should probably know how to swim. Um, a step towards like getting into whitewater would be just comfort in the water. And so that's something I can work with people on. We can start instead of on whitewater, we could start in a lake or in the pool. The YMCA in the area and a few different colleges have role sessions, where you can go to their pool and get in a kayak and like paddle around, and we can teach you how to flip over, get out of the kayak, and then eventually we can teach you how to flip over and then roll yourself back up while you're still in the kayak. So
Wow.
that's just one skill that we can teach. But in the pool, we can work on underwater comfort, and start from, like, I have clients who have been very scared of water and like not comfortable being submerged in their kayak for like 5 seconds. And then we work them up 5 seconds and then 10 seconds and then 15 seconds. And then they're staying underwater for 30 seconds and then they tap and I roll them back up, or they learn their role and then they feel more comfortable on whitewater. Um, and so when I mentioned whitewater, I'm talking about like going outside on a natural river. There are some rivers that are a little bit man-made, but most of the time I'm talking about natural rivers that have rapids, and rocks and stuff and waves and features like that.
And so how intense do the rapids get where you typically take people to have one of these experiences? Because I know there's
So before you,
class one, two, three, four, and I think there's even a crazy five, if I'm not mistaken, which would be kind of like
yeah.
an F5 tornado.
Class five's not necessarily a tornado. It's definitely runnable, but I don't take people in class five for my business. And I don't think it's actually, there's a certification that you can get to teach on class five legally. Or you might be able to, but not through the like major um insurance company that helps us.
I would think
But
so.
anyway, so I yeah, I'm certified to teach people on up to class three. Before we go out with people, I will have either a phone consultation or we'll just talk on like Facebook Messenger or via text, and we'll figure out like what their fear level is and what their comfort level is already. If they've ever been in whitewater before. And most of the time I take people for their first experience on like class two. So class one is flat moving water. Class two has some ripples in it, but it doesn't have any consequence and there's no like must make moves.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah. And then I also teach on class three, which has like very little consequence still, but it has some moves that are like more challenging to make, and places that you should be and places that you probably don't want to be.
Okay. And by consequence, do you mean that there would be areas in the water that could cause you to flip over? What does that mean exactly?
So you can flip over even in class one. You can flip over in a pool that isn't even moving water.
I've done that actually.
So consequences could be like, um, I don't know, features that would be a little bit more dangerous to swim through, basically. So a class two rapid, you can swim anywhere on the river. And I mean, everywhere, it's a natural river, so it's got like inherent risks and there are rocks and stuff you can always hit. But generally, you can go anywhere and there's nothing that's like going to get you stuck anywhere other than like maybe it being really shallow and you just sit there on rock.
Right.
But it's like not a big deal. Yeah, some more consequential things could be rocks that have, I don't want to talk about it in a way that's like super scary, but
Right.
they can trip you up. They're not, you don't want to swim towards certain rocks, and or certain trees, or like there might be features in the whitewater that are like bigger waves or bigger, they're called hydraulics, which is a spot where the water is moving upstream and downstream at the same place and it like creates a lot of turbulence. And sometimes those can like stop a person for a second. Um, but in class one to three, none of those features are like going to be very super hazardous. You'll swim through them. It just might be a turbulent ride.
Gotcha. Kind of like life sometimes, right? It's a
Yeah.
good metaphor for life. It's kind of
Yeah.
turbulent sometimes. Can get us stuck for a minute, but we can move through it. So that's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
awesome. So typically
Yeah.
speaking, when you get someone out there that it does have a little bit higher of a fear factor inside themselves over this, how do they respond at the end? Like after they've been through
Um,
the rapids?
Yeah, I actually want to read a testimonial that my one of my clients, Nikki, came out. She said Becca was incredible. Before our session, she reached out with information on how to prepare for the day, what to expect, information about the area, and asked for my personal goals that I hope to accomplish by the end of our session. She built our day around my needs and abilities and was so accommodating. And she even packed me lunch. um, you couldn't ask for a more competent, patient, compassionate, and all around amazing kayak instructor. It's one thing to be great and passionate about something, but to be a great teacher and educator is a whole different complex skill. And Becca does it all. The whitewater community can sometimes feel like an intimidating world to leap into, but Becca makes space for everyone to feel like they have a place here. No matter if you need help getting your spray skirt on, or maybe you're learning how to dial in your stern squirt, which is a trick that you can do. She'll meet you wherever you're at and be there for you every step of the way. I felt so safe with her on the water, and she encouraged me to challenge myself just when I needed it. Kayaking has always been a love-hate relationship for me, but today it was all love.
Aw,
That's
that's
what Nikki said.
awesome. That is awesome. That's an
Yeah,
amazing review. It really is. So that goes to tell
yeah.
y'all, if you're thinking of, if you've ever considered doing something like this, now you know where to go. We'll find out later, a little later on in the podcast, how to get in contact with Becca. And then I will also put that information in the description box below. So if you've ever been thinking about going kayaking on some whitewater, now you know who to contact and where to go to have an amazing experience start to finish. So we'll get that information in here in a little bit. So tell us more about the play factor here as adults. I mean, is this the whitewater rafting, is that a piece of it for people that they can just kind of get out and play?
Yeah, I love the whitewater community because I can't think of like many other communities in our that are mostly adults that focus like so much on getting outside and playing on a regular basis. Like a lot of people that are really into kayaking will go like once or twice a week, or like we'll get off work and then a big group of people will go like kayaking after work at like 7 p.m. and then and it's just I mean, I'm sure there are other communities like that. I can think of a few like disc golf and I'm sure like a lot of sports, and there's intramural sports that you can do. But the community is like so strong, and so once and it's also so welcoming. Like as soon as you like mention that you're interested in it, people are like, "Oh my gosh, yes, come with me. Like let's go. I'll teach you like let's make it happen." And I love this sport because it's so much of a the more the merrier kind of
Mhm.
thing. Um, my first outdoor sport was rock climbing, and rock climbing is a little bit more like I love rock climbing. Don't get me wrong, the community is great. um, but it's also you need a belay partner and the climber, and so it's kind of in pairs. And I'm single. I don't have a belay partner that I like. I don't I like the idea that kayaking is a very like big group sport. Like
Mhm.
you don't have to have a huge group there, but you usually have at least three people, and it doesn't like cap off at three. You can have three people, or you can have 15 people, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference.
Right,
But for like rock climbing, you need to have like an even number of people,
right.
um,
Okay.
or like
And
the more people
kayaking,
you
you
have,
don't
the
have
more
to have a
gear.
partner, right? You don't have to have a partner for kayaking. It, because you're
Yeah,
just
you
kind
should
of
go not go alone, but
right, right. Definitely not on whitewater for sure.
yeah,
Probably wouldn't be a good idea at all. So I
yeah.
love it. I lived in Nashville for a while, like we talked prior to recording, but I never went whitewater kayaking or any kind of whitewater experience. I did a lot of hiking while I was up there and checked out
Hmm.
quite a few waterfalls because it's an absolutely beautiful area there. So do you do hiking
Yeah.
trips at all? I mean, you mentioned mountain biking and things like that, but for people who maybe feeling a little lower energy, adventurous, so to speak, do you do any kind of hiking tours or anything like that?
So my business is just whitewater, and then I also have the virtual coaching that I do. So I would totally like recommend hiking to people, but I don't take people on guided trips
Gotcha.
to go hiking. I
Nice.
do have an event coming up. I don't know when this podcast will be aired, but Halloween weekend, I am hosting a full moon float on a flat water section in downtown. Um, so we'll be starting the trip at like 8 p.m. At dusk on October
Wow.
28th. And people will wear like witch hats and stuff, and it's bring your own boat. So you can be in a sit on top kayak. It's completely flat water. So that's like a lower skill level. It's not guided at all. It's just like here's a place for people to show up. Let's all gather and like have fun together. And I'll provide some glow sticks and a few like witch hats, and let's just all get together and enjoy the spooky full moon.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I still have some friends up there, so I'm gonna send them private messages and tell them about. You'll have to give me all the
Yeah,
info
I
and
have a
I'll send
Facebook event for it.
yeah, and I'll send that out to them and also and I'll make sure this episode drops before then so people can go if they want to. So that's really cool. And I'm
Cool.
happy to share the information on my Facebook as well so that people can go and take part of that because that sounds amazing. That sounds like so much fun. And I'm like a big Halloween
Thanks.
fan anyway. It's my second favorite holiday. My first holiday is Thanksgiving because, well,
Mm.
Thanksgiving. I mean, come on, you know, food and food and
Yeah.
gratitude. Like, how can that be wrong? So and then Halloween
Yeah.
because God, like you said, fun. Like fun. It doesn't
Play.
matter.
Yeah.
Like I turned 54 this month and I still love Halloween. It's so good. So I'm definitely want to share that
Yeah.
with people for sure. Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I'm super
Yeah. It's
excited.
such
I wish I could be there, but I'm not going to be able to.
it's gonna have, I think it's gonna have a really great turnout. We have 750 people interested already on the Facebook
Wow.
page. I know. I don't know how we're gonna have enough parking. But we'll figure it out.
Yeah, might have to.
750 people aren't gonna show up, but
No, they won't all show up, but yeah, some shuttle from
yeah.
some big parking to the actual launch point or something like that. Like you said, you'll get it figured out. That's going to be
Oh yeah.
amazing. How exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you're a Halloween buff, man, y'all need to put this on your calendar and make
Get
plans
with
to
Becca.
go.
Yeah.
Yes.
October 28th at dusk.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. So exciting. Like I love this so much. The fun and the nature, getting out. And what would you say to people who might be a little nervous about getting on the water after dark though?
That's so fair. I'm thinking about some people have mentioned that in the Facebook group, and I'm thinking about having a group that goes like maybe I'll arrive at like 6 p.m. or something, and we can have a group that goes out before 6 p.m. or before dark. Because there's no way we can fit. There's no way I can accommodate even a third of those people all at once right at dark. So maybe we'll have like groups of like 20 people. It's still like a month and a half away. So I haven't ironed out all of the details, but maybe we'll have two or three groups of like 15 people go before dark. And then the people who are more comfortable can go later at dark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. So how is a night experience of going out on the water?
It's wild. And also like the full moon aspect. I've gone during full moon and I've gone it during like a new moon when there's no light. And both of my experiences have been whitewater. But this is going to be flat water, so it's going to be way chiller than what my experience was in whitewater. But with whitewater, it's cool. You can actually see the white water part. You can't see the flat water very well.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you know that if you can't really see it, it's very tame and calm.
Hmm.
And if you can see it, then there's like some sort of feature there. But the moon like reflects off the water and it's so pretty. And a full moon is actually not very dark outside. So
Right.
it'll feel like you'll still be able to see. And I totally encourage people to bring like flashlights if they want to, or we'll have glow sticks on each person so that we can see the different crafts.
Right.
Don't want to lose anyone.
Right. Definitely don't want to
Yeah.
lose anyone. That's for sure. That's so cool. That
Yeah.
sounds like so much fun. Oh my gosh, like I'm feeling very excited for y'all. I really am.
Oh, yay. I'm so
Sounds,
excited for it too.
yeah, that sounds amazing. Well, what other ways do you
Yeah.
encourage people to bring fun into their life and break up their pre-programmed routines that they have?
That's a good question. I think one of the things that we start with in my program, in my like 12-week coaching program, is we reorganize our calendar. So I'll have people take out their calendar and we go through and we're like, so what do you like doing and what do you not like doing? And how can we like maximize the time that you're enjoying, and kind of what can we cut out that you're not enjoying? Or how can we like shift it so that it's something that you actually do enjoy? Kind of like how I mentioned the like put music on while you're cooking breakfast if you don't like cooking, or like how can we get you excited about what you're cooking? Can we try a new vegetable every week, or like can we like instead of going to get fast food, could we shift it to going to a new restaurant every week, or um, something like that? So it's very individualized, but trying to reorganize their calendar to make the mundane tasks exciting again.
Do you find
That's
that
like a very
people,
simple way.
yes, and I can see that it would be, but do you find that people have a lot of resistance inside themselves to looking at it and realizing that it's okay to shift some things around so that they can have more fun? What does that look like, when you're discussing this with someone?
Yeah. Um, there's definitely resistance sometimes, and we just start with something really small. Like I'm talking about things that are to like starting whitewater kayaking. That's like a huge like lifestyle transition potentially.
Yeah.
But I just work with people to make sure that it's like attainable for them if we start too big, and have like I want them to dream big. I want them to start dreaming and learn how to
Yes.
dream again. So that could be the first step, is like simply visualization and
Right.
figuring out how to figure out what you want. Especially I work with a lot of women, and especially women have trouble like even saying like I want to do this. They're like,
Mm.
"Oh, whatever you want to do." So I can start by just helping give them words and examples of phrases they can use to say like I would like to do this. And we can like rehearse conversations so that they can ask for what they want, even if it's literally like, "Oh, what do you want for dinner tonight?" And
Yeah.
then they're like, "Oh, whatever you want." But instead, I can encourage them to be like, "I want mashed potatoes," or I don't know,
Yeah.
some random thing.
That reminds
um,
me of a scene in the movie Coming to America with Eddie Murphy, and he's the prince, and he's gonna
uh-huh.
get married, and he meets his future bride, and he's like, "What do you like to eat?" And she goes, "I like whatever you like." And he's like, "Well, what kind of
Yeah.
music do you like?" "I like whatever music you like," and it's just like, and we do get into that, I think. And it sounds silly when you see such a dramatic presentation of it, but it really is how a
Mhm.
lot of us view things. We're afraid to say what we like and what we want and what we need for ourselves. So I think
Yeah.
it's really great that you address that. And the dreaming, the remember, learn to dream again. We did it all the time when we were kids. So just giving ourselves permission to do that. Actually, here's a fun fact about me. My first tattoo says dream.
Oh,
It's
cool.
actually the word dream. And it's because I'm a big proponent of dreaming. Like I think you should dream often, dream big, be bold and daring in your dreams. I'm still making my dreams come true at this age in my life. And I think it's okay for us to realize that it doesn't matter how old you are, you can bring that back
Yeah.
into your life at any time. So I
Yeah.
love that you brought that up. I really do.
Yeah. that's another like awesome thing about whitewater is like the famous people that you see, sure, they might be young, but the like the people that I'm actually out there with, like they're well, okay, I just almost got sidetracked in my brain. My
I do
like
that all
slightly ADD brain. um so the there are a lot of people that start whitewater kayaking when they're older. Like I didn't start when I was a teenager. I did start in college. But I have friends who of many generations, which is the second caveat or like thing that I was about to mention is like this community has multi-generational friendships, which I think is so impactful to our ability to dream and like to play. And so I go kayaking with like 16-year-olds and I go kayaking with 60-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I think the 60-year-olds have a lot to learn from me. And I also have a lot of wisdom to gain from their wisdom.
Yes.
And it's like so cool to have these like multi-generational friendships that
Hmm.
aren't like family friendships or
Yeah.
like family relationships.
Right.
Um,
I totally
yeah.
agree with you. And like, I love all ages as well, but I really have a soft spot in my heart for older people because I
Hmm.
just think they have the best stories because like they've been around, they've been on this planet for a lot longer than me. And I forget
Yeah.
how old I'm getting to be sometimes. So it's not as much longer as it used to be, that's for sure. But
Soon you're going to be the old one
yes, I forget. I
connecting
do.
with the
I
young
honestly
ones.
forget sometimes. Like
No.
I'll see I talked to this older lady and then I'm like, wait, she was only like 50 something. That's like my age. So she wasn't really older, I guess. I'm just saying she wasn't a kid. That's what I mean. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
love older
I
people
say old
because
endearingly too.
yes, absolutely. Because they have the best stories. They do. Like my grandma is just, she had her 96th birthday this year and she's still sharp as a tack. And I love talking to her
Wow.
because she has the best stories and the best way of looking at things, you know? I mean, it's absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. So I love that you value the multi-generational age differences that you're experiencing in your job because I think that we should all do that because everyone
Hmm.
has value, no matter how old they are or how young they are or whatever. Age, I love the quote, age is a matter of mind, and if you don't mind, it doesn't matter, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't. It's
Hmm.
just a thing. We think too much about it sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I really value my different generation friendships.
Yeah, that's very cool. And how do you find that? Is there a difference in how the different age groups approach doing something like whitewater rafting?
Um, yeah, there definitely is. I am teaching a college class right now. I tend to like in my personal business work a lot with women. I'm open to working with other genders. But most of my like I worked at a summer camp as well, and they were all like girls. So I know you asked about age, but so the summer campers are like younger girls, like up to like as young as 8 years old.
Wow.
So 8 to like 16 years old. And then right now I'm teaching a college course for Brevard College, and I'm working with six boys or men, I guess. They're like between 19 and 25. Um, and even the difference between the like adolescent and then like young adult. Um, the kids are like more I want to just play. Like they don't care about learning technique or anything. And they don't have as much fear around anything. They're just like, let's go for it, send it. And like they're like paddling ahead of me and no fear at all. And then the Brevard College kids are um some of them are really fearful. And some of them are like, let's send it still. So I see the like young energy in them. But I also see the like fear that we get as we get older.
Hmm.
Um, and then I've also worked with like older generations, like 40s or 50s, and there's I think there's like more at stake in a way. Not that I don't know if that, like, at least in their head, there's like more at stake. Like, I can't get hurt because I have this job and I have like the I have to take care of my kids, and like, so they're it seems like their fears are around like getting hurt,
Mhm.
um compared to like as a like not necessarily like nameable fear for the like people at the Brevard College class, where they're just like, I'm scared, but I don't really know why. They're not
Right.
specifically scared of getting hurt. um and yeah, so I think like it, and this is a total generalization, but the younger age is like very go-getter, and then as they get older they're like they're more reserved, a little more timid. um and especially with that, I mean, it goes with kind of from, I have a degree in psychology, and the developmental, like where we are developmentally, like
Mhm.
these younger kids are, they're finding themselves and they're learning like their identities, and they just like want to have fun with their friends. And then as they get like more into college, they're like very focused on relationships and how they look towards other people.
Mhm.
um and then as we get older, we're maybe more thinking about like taking care of people. And so when we're in this new environment and we're needing to be taken care of,
Right.
to some extent, that is really challenging for older generations that I've taught. They don't want to be rescued. They don't want to be a burden, or um yeah. And I haven't worked with many people that are older than like 50-ish age. I don't necessarily ask their direct age, or like I
Right.
have it in their med form, but I don't I don't pay much attention to it unless I need to.
Right.
Um yeah.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting facet of it. I wouldn't have thought about they're kind of uncomfortable being taken care of in that scenario. I was going to ask you if you thought that maybe, or if anybody has expressed that maybe it's a fear of looking foolish or making a mistake in front of other people since they don't really know what they're doing, which I think is a common thing for us humans.
Yeah, people definitely express that occasionally. I think they don't admit it a lot of times, even though it might be a thing that they're experiencing, and I might be able to notice it. But they don't usually admit it directly. I talk about that a bit in my podcast. I'm not blanking on the episode that we talk about it on. I think it's one of the ones where we're talking about scouting rapids. So scouting a rapid is when you get out of your kayak and you like put it on the beach, and then you hike down to look at something before you run it.
Okay.
And when you're running more challenging whitewater, like class 4 or 5 stuff, or class 3, you don't usually scout anything below class 3 because you can usually see it as you're approaching it. Um, But when you're out of your kayak, and typically the ratio of like people that don't know what they're doing to people that know what they're doing, there's a lot more people that know what they're doing. So there's like maybe 4 people who've done the section before, are comfortable on it, and then there's like 1 or 2 people who are new to it.
Mhm.
And so when we're scouting, everyone's like out and they're looking at the rapid and talking about it, and then the people that don't know what they're doing are obviously the minority, and that's good. They should be.
Right.
There shouldn't be more people that don't know what they're doing, but they might feel a pressure to run the rapid because everyone else is doing it. But I think having a crew that is super supportive and like very comforting and not pressuring you to do it. I
Mhm.
I talk about positive peer pressure a little bit. Sometimes people need the like motivation, like, no, you got this. Like, I've seen you do something like this before. I
Yeah.
know you can do it. And sometimes they need the push, the kick in the butt.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
sometimes it's even more courageous to walk around a rapid when everyone else is running it and say, I'm not I'm not feeling it today. And that's like totally fine and very respectable. And I do that sometimes, even on rapids that I've run before and run plenty of times. I'm like, I'm not feeling it today. I'm gonna walk it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, trying to just have a comfortable, a safe crew that makes you feel okay saying no, basically. I guess that's like really what it is like feeling comfortable in your no.
Right, absolutely. And listening to that intuition, that's it seems to
Hmm.
be a topic that keeps coming up here in my world recently. And I think it's so important just to listen to that intuition. And if you're not feeling it that day, just
It's
own
okay.
that and embrace it and know
Yeah.
that it's okay. That you don't have to explain or justify yourself to anybody. Listen to yourself. You're going to keep yourself out of a bad situation. Because if you went ahead and did that, and you weren't comfortable with it, then you may make a mistake that could could be, not a good situation. And I'll leave it at that. But also, one of the things
Yeah.
I love is that you allow people the freedom to realize that it's okay not to be the world expert in this area, you know,
Yeah.
because we don't start out at the beginning of anything being the expert. And I think that sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that, we don't have to look like the expert and it's the first time we did it. And that's okay.
Yeah. I think that's something we forget as we get older too, is like just because we're older doesn't mean that we know everything. And we don't have to know everything. And there's like so much joy and fun in learning something again, and not knowing. And the
Yeah.
like unknown can be scary, but unknown is also like can be exciting. And scary
Yes,
and exciting are very similar feelings.
they are. And it's learning. It's the unknown is where we learn and grow. And that's the beautiful
Hmm.
thing about it. It really is. Because I
Hmm.
love learning and growing. I work at it every day, some days a lot more diligently than others, but it's amazing. And when you get into those uncomfortable places and find out why you're feeling uncomfortable and take a deeper look at those things, it can help you push through and keep on going in there.
Yeah.
And eventually it gets comfortable, you know? That's the
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been good at kayaking since I started. I started not great, as does everyone.
Yeah. Start flipping over in
Yeah.
that calm water, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I
Don't just
remember,
wake up and start running past 5.
no, I've never been on whitewater. I've kayaked quite a few rivers, especially in northern Florida, but they're more shallow, very few deep areas. And I remember one time I'm a driftwood junkie, and there was, the rivers up in northern Florida have a lot of driftwood. And I
Mm.
love collecting it for multiple reasons. But I saw this really cool piece of driftwood as I was paddling down. I was like, I'm just going to grab that real quick. So I reached down to grab it, and the bottom of the river was a little deeper than I thought it was. So I
Oh.
just went whoop right on over, made the biggest splash. Yeah, like everybody saw me. I'm like, and I just came up laughing because, I mean,
Yeah,
you know, I didn't get the driftwood though
you're
because I
okay.
lost it, but it was fine. I had fun and I cooled off because the river water's nice and cool and the sun was baking hot that day. So I guess I needed to cool off.
Win-win.
Exactly. Exactly. It was
Yeah.
awesome. So, well, this has been a great conversation. I hope that this will encourage people far and wide to bring some fun back into their lives and think of different ways that can happen because it can look different for all of us. It can look different from day to day. But if y'all are listening to this and you want to try this again, Becca, tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with me is to follow my email list, which you can sign up for on my website, which is beccaploner.com, BECCAPLOENER.com. There's a sign up form on my website, or you can send me an email at rploner.com or at gmail.com.
All right, and
Yeah.
I will drop that information in the description box below so that you'll have that readily available. I want to remind you again to like, share, and subscribe to this channel so we can share this information far and wide and encourage and uplift other people around us. This does have a ripple effect, so we want to reach that person that needs this information today. So Becca, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time and your energy and all your beautiful
Yeah.
suggestions. I think fun is
Thanks.
not underrated for sure. So we definitely need to be having more fun in our lives and forget that age thing because again, age is a matter of mind. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter, right?
Exactly. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Dee.
You're very welcome. Thank you once again, everyone. And as always, I love you all.